Hello and welcome to this next episode of the All Good Things podcast. We're not quite sure what episode we're on. I thought we were on 22 last session. We might be on 23 because I was looking at the raw recording data and it said 21 part B. So now I'm a little confused what actual episode we're on. I'm going to believe that is genuinely a part A and part B, and we're maybe on 23? Who knows?
You know, there could be a lost podcast.
A lost episode,
floating
indeed.
around.
For those of you who were just watching the previous one, you'll know that we're planning on talking a little bit more about the topics of Halloween and things like that. So maybe before we get into our bigger questions, because I think I've got one on top of my head that I'd quite like to talk about. Have any of you had any sort of long-standing memories or something like that of Halloween that you want to talk about, or maybe some interesting interactions that might have happened off the back of Halloween experience?
I have one. I was sharing it with the vicar off camera. One memory. I'm not saying that I'm sort of scarred for life or anything like that, but you guys were reminiscing about the early 80s, and James Hughes and I are of very similar vintage. I'm actually a year older than him, and he always thinks it's the other way around, so I have to keep reminding him, no. Anyway, we were essentially, sort of junior school age at the same time in the early 80s, and I remember I was in the Cubs. And we didn't do a lot with Halloween, but there was kind of something vaguely related. And I remember one year we were all given a packet of pumpkin seeds. I think you're talking about pumpkin.
Yeah.
And so we had to go away and grow a pumpkin. And Anna told me I need to speak up, so I will. So we all went away, and I remember my friend Robin, his was about the size of a swede or a turnip. And for some reason the one I had came out like huge, sort of bigger than a basketball. And my father, a bit like James was talking last night, painstakingly carved this pumpkin out, and they got the triangle eyes, and then the goofy, the teeth, like sort of castle ramparts thing. And then there used to be in the village where I grew up a classic big old, I don't know what era it dated from, a big old vicarage, proper big rectory in huge grounds.
Yes.
And we all went in there, and we all had to put these pumpkins that we lovingly carved out on display. And then we all went wandering around the grounds. There were stalls, get your bonfire toffee, treacle, all that, whatever it was, cups of hot soup. Anyway, come back later in the evening, and my pumpkin, somebody come along and punched all his teeth out. So it sort of like an old codger with lost his
teeth.
Like a homeless man.
Not quite so scared.
Yeah, and when you sort of 8 or 9 or whatever, it was mildly upsetting. I think my dad was more upset than me.
Spent hours doing it.
Exactly. So that's my little Halloween stroke pumpkin related memory.
So we're not calling for vandalism as a response by the church.
No. So there you
make
go.
it quite interesting though. We had sorry, this is less on topic than the one I was going to do. When we did light parties when I was younger, it was sort of trick-or-treaty in nature, in that we were walking from house to house. But there was like a planned route.
Planned houses.
It's a planned houses, yeah. So you would go to like a bunch of these Christians' houses, and what they did was all of the Christians who lived within our local area planned an activity that the kids came into their back garden to go and do. So we had like the donut on a string, hands, that kind of thing, apple dunking, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't think we ever did any pumpkin carving or anything like that. But it was quite strange, sort of running around town in the dark with all the trick or treaters. Obviously there's quite a distinct.
You want to make them you want to make the kids feel like they're being involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you just translate light party for anyone who's
we did this on the last one, but it's essentially a Christian alternative for parents who essentially want their children to still engage with the fun that's going on that a lot of other kids are having, while also not engaging in the
children.
With the slightly naughty aspects of Halloween. Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit this week, unless you've got one that you want to talk about, was the topic of the attraction that surrounds Halloween for a lot of people. So, at least for me, when I was a teenager, you've got children who've grown up doing trick-or-treating, they love it, and they're obsessed with it. Fine, I can understand that part for why children would get enjoyment out of it. But then there's this sort of strange continuation on through teenagedom and then adulthood, where people almost sort of idolise this holiday of being like an opportunity. Oh, great! I get to dress up like a demon or as a skeleton or whatever. And I think it'd be interesting to chat about a little bit where do we think that's come from societally, and why we think that is the case still today in the kind of why is it such a celebrated holiday to the same degree?
I mean, I think you're right, James. On our estate, maybe not so much sort of since COVID, when I first moved to where we live in Belper, which is a newish estate. I remember when I first moved there, you know, you'd get swathes of like little kids with their buckets for the sweeties and things, but then you get increasingly the adults, or you know, mums and dads dressing up, as you say, as skeletons, or the mums dressing up as witches and things, and it is a peculiar phenomenon.
I think you have an increased interest in spirituality as a whole. So you've got that
the Ouija boards
or just interested in the mystery and the more to life. You know, most people very rare, like kind of, you know, a while ago it was the kind of everyone were atheists and that's what they were, and that's kind of gone away with now to a kind of a vague spirituality thing. So why not kind of, you know, have a crystal, have a this, have a that, have a whatever. I'm kind of open or interested and that kind of thing. So you've got that kind of vague.
Whatever gives you peace from existential dread, that's what will take the box for you.
We don't do death.
No.
Anytime we can help it, we stay well away. So maybe going into the shops is a little bit of a pressure relief.
Yes.
It's
a whole huge chunk of life that we don't go in here and never talk about. So we'll have a massive binge on it for a minute and then hide away again.
Is it? I can't remember if it's Mexican society or Spanish.
Well, this is the
It's the same time of year.
Same time of year as well.
And the Chinese one is the same time of year. There's another one that are all the same time of year. I mean, something you could probably tie in with.
And I think we're a bit jealous of countries with really vibrant culture and carnival because not enough of us are Morris dancers, so we've not got a huge amount of that.
Speak for yourself.
Thing. So we try and pick something. Let's have a dress up and have a bit of fun because those things are great.
Yeah.
And it's all tied in with what's in the shop.
My dad always said he wanted to have a New Orleans style funeral. He was like the idea of that because it was kind of jolly and celebratory, you know, when they march along and everything. He didn't, sadly. It was in the middle of COVID, but that's a whole other story. But,
I think also there's the attraction to the dark side, if you want to say it in that way. I think you can have a positive way from it. This is, I mean, we talked about this a little bit about. I think the positive roots to it is how do you, and this is kind of classic kind of exposure therapy. How do you deal with a big thing that you're afraid of and you're scared of? Well, you play with it. Do you know what I mean? You go, oh, there's a spider in the next door room, and that just terrifies the life of you. We'll just start with a toy spider or whatever, and you can begin, and you can put a face to it, and you can begin to come to terms with it. And so you can put a face to demons and witches and whatever, and then when you play and interact with that, you conquer that, and so you grow in strength over it, and it becomes less of you make conscious. The unconscious fear, and that's how you heal and grow. I think so. There's a positive way to that. I think there's then also within society, whenever you temptation is alluring. You know, like all the pictures of it's interesting. In some places this changes, but the kind of classic images of the devil being this kind of terrifyingly scary horns, whatever makes you think that you're going to run away from, when in reality it's far more like tempting and enticing and want to lure you into that. And so there is a side to, and so I mentioned it in the last podcast about you get the sexualization of Halloween that goes in alongside it, and the interesting things that does, and therefore there is a visible attractiveness to that side of life that
temptation is almost built into that celebration now in a way.
A little bit of rebellion, a little bit of breaking some rules and pushing some boundaries, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
But even within that, I find it interesting because you mentioned the sort of societal shift from perhaps a more baseline of we are atheists, we don't believe in this God, no rubbish. We've evolved past that now, and now they're sort of being this existential escapism of whatever kind of floats your boat, as long as it doesn't interfere with me and mine. That's okay. But then you've also got this interesting dynamic where actually a lot of the children who've been brought up in that sort of pool, what is there to really rebel against in the same way? Because a lot of them don't have that baseline anymore of, well, you know, we go to a Christian school and I'm forced to be a Christian, I've been indoctrinated and I'm rebelling against that, or my parents were Christians. Actually, at least within the schools I work at, most children aren't that. If anything, they've already got that baseline of being told the opposite, that it's already stupid, it's already that kind of thing. And then responding to it. And I wonder whether part of it is an extension beyond it. It's almost like a second wave atheist rebellion of going, my parents think this is ridiculous, and so now I'm desensitizing some of these bigger, scarier topics, like demon possession, like, you know, all this kind of stuff, and the concept of death, by making it playful and exciting and fun and sexy,
Yes.
rather than dwelling on it as being a rebellion thing. Now it's like an almost, oh yeah, but now we're mocking it.
Yeah,
Yes.
sending it up.
Yeah, it's playful rather than...
Which, because we had the... grew up with I think it's the scary movies. One's called Scary Movie. So as in, they were the mocking of the horror movies, and you get exactly the whole thing of making
Is
it.
that a podcast endorsement or not?
The Wayans brothers...
Think so.
No, they're not. The Wayans brothers are funny. Some of their comedy is not so much anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you know what I mean? I haven't. I can't imagine it's all aged particularly well. Yes.
So do you think the light party thing is big, and loads of churches put a lot of time and effort into providing that kind of the hopeful alternative, which is brilliant. There's a challenge there where you want that to be, here's a better alternative for everyone to enjoy, come and see, rather than here's what our children do in our little commune, and we'll watch out for the naughty children, we'll avoid the street when they're on it. So how do we hold out a hope with really with confidence, rather than say we've made our sanitised version of their thing and we're going to keep away?
It's a really good question, actually. I'd be very curious, especially to hear your answer to this, because I would imagine for parents, any Christian parents, it must be very difficult to know actually what that line looks like, because at least from the conversations that I'll have with teenagers nowadays, if they're talking about it, there is a degree of like the naughty kids and then me being a Christian, which you don't want to touch even with them, because then you're getting into sort of workspace theology and salvation, and all of that. But there is a degree, I think, as a parent to sort of go, how do I handle this? Because it's hard not to end up in that sort of frame of mind of like, don't copy the naughty kids who are running around smashing people's windows because they didn't give me sweets that night.
I think it's just sort of opening up the point a little more widely, more generally. I suppose it's that classic thing, isn't it? And we're all, as Christians, walking that sort of tightrope. It's a balancing act between being in the world but not of it, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, this is going slightly off topic, but I was having a conversation with a friend at our sister church just down the road, you know, about one of our kids, you know, some of their friends are sort of playing computer games that we know are not, you know, they're not edifying, and they're well under the specified age rating, you know, and also watching films that, you know, and we're saying, well, no, we're not going to let our offspring play those games or watch those films because it's not edifying, as Aaron put it, and you know, I was having a conversation with one. I said, when you've seen things, you can't unsee them, and they can have, you know, can have an impact. So it's a tricky one, because you know you want to do the right thing, but then you've got this Freddie's dad down the road lets him do these things, you know, and then, as you say, on the other hand, you don't want to be sort of complete killjoy and stuff, but I think you do have to set
a boundary.
You've also got to say, sometimes it's easy because you go, well, you're not like Freddie because Freddie smashes windows. Lots of the time, children do Halloween and are lovely children and are not, you know, horrible. It's not that all non-Christian children, or even all Christian children who join with Halloween are horrible. That's kind of easy to say sometimes, but obviously not. It's true.
It's a weird sort of, from an adult conversation perspective, it's the whole like, my friend Angie donates to charity, is a really nice person, she can't be going to hell, right? Even though she's not a Christian. That kind of thing, right? It's an extension of that to a certain degree, except now more of like, from a child lens, and almost like, oh well, how can, I don't know, Lucas be that, he's not a particularly nasty kid, but he does it, why can't I do it? He's,
Why are these Christians who are supposed to be loving all stuffy and restricted?
Why do they not want me to do anything
fun? I better answer that quickly.
Well, again, I'm sort of slightly different. When I was sort of a teenager, in the circles I was in at that time, my sister and I used to go to a youth group was affiliated, I think, to a Pentecostal church in the centre of Doncaster. And at that time, in certain Christian quarters, there was this, oh no, you shouldn't listen to the devil's music, especially sort of some of the heavier rock stuff in heavy metal. Oh no, because some of, like anything, some things can. And I think, I agree, you've got to have discernment in what you, like we were just talking about computer games and films, and to an extent music, you've got to have discernment in what you watch and what you listen to, but at the same time,
discernment and stuffiness.
I think we may have touched on it in a recent podcast episode, or have that many conversations and things, but there's that whole idea of the cultural mandate, and God has given us music and art and culture and for our good and enjoyment and stuff. So to say, oh no, you can't listen to any non-Christian music or whatever, I think I would say that was wrong. And then of course you end up like this strange monkish sort of figure, remote, and know nothing, can't relate to anybody.
With music in general, and especially maybe with Halloween and death, we should be the ones with stuff to sing and party about, because we're the ones who've got some hope. So there's a real challenge to be the people who are standing, holding out a light for people, rather than hiding indoors, because we're the ones with the gospel.
And the danger, the real danger is you can fool yourself with a false holiness.
Yeah, well, that's the other things in there.
And it's a really, really dangerous place. And the church is always destined to fall into this. And I'm talking about it on this Sunday because it's the passage in Mark's Gospel in the evening where Jesus is critiqued for who he sits with.
Eats with sinners.
And it's that. And here in that passage, he does go on. He critiques the sinners. He's not light on them, but he's like, no, you have to sit here. And Paul talks about this. He talks about having nothing to do with certain people that believe and teach certain things. And he's very quickly afterwards to go, I'm not talking about non-believers here. I'm talking about people inside the church who you may disagree with and false teachers, and that's a completely different scenario to being in there and to spending the time to really understand what is going on, because otherwise we can be so knee-jerk and responsive. And this is what we're saying, I was told from so early on that Halloween was just evil, as opposed to it being an inherently Christian thing. A foundational Christian thing. It was similar. The other really great example is Harry Potter. It drives me so. There was I was talking to someone who'd done a bit more research on it. It was there was basically one person on the early days of Harry Potter who did it in the evangelical church, did a hit job on it before they'd properly read them, before the books had been read out, and saying this is evil and you shouldn't do it, and everyone bought it. And even within that, I think there's an article somewhere and he caveats it and goes, unless it may one day, I might be proven wrong and it might turn into this Christian story. And
that's basically what happens at the end of it.
Exactly. And J.K. Rowling was asked, if you had to sum up what is the story of Harry Potter, what is it? And she's, I think this is right. I need to double check it, but she said it is about what is written on Harry Potter's parents' grave, and it's a Bible verse that says, "And in the end, even death itself will be overturned, and love will conquer all." The whole story is about, plot spoiler, the chosen son who has to sacrifice himself and be resurrected back to life to defeat death, and it doesn't actually use magic in that terms, and uses the power of love. But yet you talk to many Christians today and goes, oh no, you can't go near it.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's just, you've not actually spent the time to really understand what you're rejecting.
When you should have owned something and said, I'll tell you why this is so good, because it's Jesus.
Well, and to then we become very hypocritical, because it's like, oh, you can't watch Harry Potter because it's got wizards in, but Lord of the Rings crack on.
Well, it's coming back to this falling into the trap of sort of being holier than thou that you were I read a quite a good book with James Hughes by one of the American authors. I can't remember which one, one of the famous writers, and he's saying that churches can be guilty of setting a whole load of standards of extra biblical conduct, whether it's, you must dress in a certain way, or...
Oh, is this a His Dark Materials Golden Compass?
No, the name will come to me in a minute. Piper, I think, John Piper. It was actually a book aimed at Christian leaders. Brothers, we're not professionals. And it's like, he used the context, he was writing in the context of the deep south of America, and a lot of churches there are very totally against, mustn't touch a drop of alcohol, which is fine, and you can understand that there's good reasons for saying that, because it can do untold damage, But then on the other hand, if there's somebody who likes the odd social drink, are you almost saying, no, we don't want you here?
Yes.
If you have a drink in moderation, what I mean?
Then you have Jesus turning...
Well, exactly,
party.
And this is where, you set these... And I remember a colleague of mine at work once said, and I couldn't, in the middle of a busy open plan office and dashing off to meetings, sort of engaged. I really wish I had this. I'm not good enough to go to church. And they said, well, no, neither am I.
That's why I'm there.
That's why I'm there, exactly. So I think
it's difficult because you are like having to make complicated decisions, and do you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm sure, and we will make massive mistakes in the same way that I'm sure I will have knee-jerk reactions to the music that the girls listen to at some point. And you do have to navigate that, because there are some music, and sometimes to actually really engage, like I knew someone who said they would watch a film. If they watch a film with their kids, they would make sure that when it was finished, that they would talk about it, or like, oh, you like that music? Okay, well, let's sit and read that music and see what it's saying about that woman, and let's actually explore whether you want to say that to your sister or to this, because otherwise. The arts can just influence us, especially if we don't really think about it.
Subliminally,
Well, to add on to this, I mean, this was just before you joined, we went on church weekend away, and Jason, I can't remember his surname now.
Jason
Ward, yes. The whole series we did was going over different viewpoints in the world and bringing it sort of back to how the different medias and stuff that we consume has an impact on us and affects our understanding of the story, and that how every bit of media we are consuming, we need to be thoughtful in how we go through it, because it's all trying to tell us...
Pushing an agenda.
It's all pushing an agenda. Not necessarily in the sense of, like, people going like, oh, I'm going to watch Harry Potter, it's going to turn me into a liberal twig or something like that. Yeah. But the idea that when you are listening to anything, or reading a book, or even like reading that article with the evangelical gentleman who goes, no, Harry Potter... Everybody's comes with their own sets of biases and worldviews of like what will help you, what do you need to hear, and so within, like, I can't remember what the example was. He talks about a bunch of different movies or songs that end up going into but people going like, oh well, we're all gonna die, so let's just enjoy ourselves, kind of thing, or. We're all going to die, but actually there is goodness in humanity and we should all sort of just work together nicely. And going through all these different viewpoints and all the isms.
Yes.
It was a fascinating series. I think it was very challenging for quite a few people for a number of reasons. Not least, again, sort of going back to the conversation we've been chatting about, because I think the temptation is, as a Christian, is to listen to that, and if you're not being very careful about how you receive something like that, to then go, I am right in how I feel, they are stupid. I need to tell the people that the stuff that they're watching is not helpful. Yes. Which feels like you're going towards the branch in your own eye rather than...
And because there's a danger, because an element of this is just how... I haven't got one, normally you have on the desk, but the Bible, how many just actually bonkers bizarre stories are in there? Like we're talking about Halloween, we go like, oh, people dress up like, it's like, if you read some of the descriptions of the animals that are in hell, in heaven, they're bonkers. And terrifying.
Like in Revelation.
In Revelation, the wings and the eyes and the horns.
I'd love to see one try though.
And you're just, and so we're always like, we can be dismissive of that and realise it's like, yeah, but we got talking snakes and donkeys and all these nuts things, and strong men that break off chains and demons going into pigs and jumping off cliffs. And it's like embracing that, the weirdness of almost the mythology that we sit in as Christians, to use that word. But yeah,
I think there's, just sort of reflecting on what we've been talking about. I think there's almost we're brewing up towards another good subject for another podcast, perhaps around that sort of being in the world but not of it, and all of that thing. Maybe we need to have just lobbing in another book, because I seem to be in book reading mode at the moment with various people. Another American author, Tim Keller. I'm doing a one-to-one with a friend again from our sister church. We're reading a book on work, making our work part of God's work. And again, it's all about, engaging with the culture, and being in a secular workplace as a Christian, all sorts of good stuff. But the chapter I've just read, he's talking about another danger we can fall into as Christians is there's the extremes, isn't it? On the one hand, you say, well, because the world is a bit wicked and evil and horrible, I should only do explicitly Christian work, and any kind of secular work is not as good. And then there's another extreme you can go to, is you compartmentalise your Christian life and faith. And you say, well, I'm only a Christian for about 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday.
And when no one else can see.
And then you don't take your Christian faith into the workplace at all, or you're only in a Christian environment in the workplace. And again, he comes back to the cultural mandate and all sorts of things. So I wonder whether there's just thinking out loud, something in and around all that. How do we live as Christians in this world, whether it's in work or socially or whatever?
Because I think you're right, and that challenge. Because to finish off with that bit about I think Halloween is a very difficult time for us as Christians. I don't think there's an easy solution to this.
Parents and children in our church will have done every variety of different thing, and that's fine and good, and no one should listen to this and think, oh no,
I've done the wrong thing. Or in 1987 I should
or even if that we have got it wrong, that there's not space to repair and handle that, and do you know what I mean? And one of the best things we can do with that is to own up when if we have gone, I think I've got this wrong, or whatever.
If you encourage your children to egg a house and didn't give them sweets, we do think that was wrong, but there is room for forgiveness.
If your child's throwing rocks through windows, call us now.
Please do not come back to church because you once put a sheet over your head and went, ooh.
Right, I think that might be a good place to draw stumps.
Before I tell a story about me throwing rocks at various things as a child.
Well, that's a whole other episode.
That's how the rugby career started. It all makes sense now.
Yeah, right. Well, on that note,
ask Jim about that story. Go out and be brave, because the message is brilliant. And tune in soon.
Yeah,
brilliant. Thanks.
See you next week.